Right. And shout out to this next guy. Look, long before I ever met him, I was a fan of his work. Just as a college basketball junkie, I would go online. I'd be like, man, this dude knows his shit. He's always, scheduling. I feel like he's way ahead of everybody. He's a college hoops analyst and bracketologist. Also the owner of bracketeer.org, which you need to check out. He's also on the field of 68. Our buddy Rocco Miller, how you doing, brother? And it's an honor to have you on the show, man. And big fan of your work.
Hey, it's an honor to be on with you guys. And you know what? I'm just here to talk about gas stations with Noah. I want to know all the pit stops across the country. Are we going to Sheets? Are we going to Buc-ee's? We're going to Love's? Where are we going, Noah?
All of the ones that you just mentioned are fantastic pit stops.
Okay.
So.
All right. We're going to
power rank goes beating.
I don't want any fighting between you and Moneyline Mac today either. You got to keep the peace. You got to keep the peace.
Hey, man,
this is fantastic because I'm a gigantic fan of Rocco, and then also just Rocco. I know that he's just hanging out in the chat half these nights, so I know these guys are all going to be just vibing along perfectly fine. So
yes,
we're gonna have a good time, guys. We're gonna have a good time.
Hell yeah. And yes, you need to follow Rocco Miller because he's just if you're a college hoops fan, you're not following Rocco Miller, you're fucking up. All right. I'll tell that right now. And by the way, shout out to Avetta. It is your birthday today, man.
What?
You're making time on your birthday for a couple of idiots.
It's technically the second. So, in the East Coast, we're celebrating already. So let's get the party started, guys.
There we go. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Cheers.
21 years young.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. 21 run coming up right after the show.
There we go, man. So look, obviously we had a fun day at college hoops. We have a bunch of stuff we want to ask you, Rocco, but I dozed off on the couch watching this Wilmington game, and I'm thinking I'm home free on this wager. And I'm like, I was putting the kiss of death on this thing. I was telling my wife, I knew it. They always mess up. They always destroy Charleston. I wake up to this result, and I didn't even realize. Like I just assumed the money was in my account. I go to look at my account. I'm like, what the hell happened here, guys? How big of a shocker was it at the Trask Coliseum today? Because I mean, what the hell did I miss when I dozed off? I feel bad that I dozed off, but I was getting ready for this whole goddamn 4 shows that I'm doing here. What happened at Trask Coliseum? Rocco, did you catch this?
I was doing other interviews, but I had it on in the background, and it was a 12-1 run by Charleston. It started about 6 minutes to go, about 6.5 minutes to go. Totally flipped the game. They're down 63-56. Like you said, man, like UNCW was up double digits. They're up 13 at the start of the second half. But the Cougs just kept chipping away. Then that 12-1 run happened. Huge development in the CAA because now Charleston ends up in a position to get a share of the title. They need help still. Charleston's done with 4 losses in the league. Elon plays Wilmington in the finale. If Elon can hook them up, we'll have a share for the championship. So it's still not a done deal for the number 1 seed in the conference tournament.
Yeah, unbelievable result there. Elon obviously in-state rivalry game to end the season. Mac, did you get eyes on this?
Yeah, I watched the entire game. Charleston scored almost 60 points in the second half. Wilmington could not get a stop, and to Rocco's point, Wilmington went through that stretch where they couldn't score. 12-1 run, 15-point lead evaporates just like that. So big win. Charleston finally beats Wilmington. Chris Mack finally able to beat Takeo Siddle over there in Wilmington for the first time. So that's I'm looking forward to round 3, hopefully next week in DC.
Yeah, Beanick, I know we have a bunch of questions we want to ask Rocco, but any thoughts on that? I just thought that was the game of the day to me that I wanted to watch. Yeah,
that was the thumbnail game. That one meant a ton in the CAA. I thought those guys hit it pretty dang good. I got nothing more to add.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start this off. We got a bracketologist here. All right. I try to write down these teams. I get all fucked up. I can't do any of this. Can't figure anything out. But now we can sit there and actually ask someone who's been doing this. How many years have you been doing this now? Where you've been, a bracketologist, so to say.
Publicly, publicly for probably about 17 years. But I think, I got a scratch paper everywhere I go, Colby. I probably did when I met you in person. And I'm always taking notes, even back in the old days. So I probably been on my third decade now doing it. And it's, honestly, Joe Lenardi and I are friends over the last few years. At least we talk a couple times a year. And I owe him credit, man. Like, because this guy invented this thing, bracketology. Didn't exist before 1996, 97 season. And the 97 season, the whole dynamic of, hey, if NC State loses this game, they're out. If they win, they're in. Even if it was bullshit, that just makes the game so much more exciting. So I give him a lot of credit for coming up with it. But then my competitive juices as a former competitor, and you're always a competitor in your brain, no matter how old you get. I wanted to beat Lenardi's ass like every year.
Yeah.
And so I got really, really sharp. And I actually recorded the selection committee interviews, even back on VHS. I can remember back in the early 2000s, and just tried to take all my opinions out of everything. Because once you have an opinion, you can't really be that good at it. You have to really put yourself in that room and what they would value on comparing one team to the other. And the entire exercise is generally that you're just comparing one team to the other and what you think is more impressive over the course of a year, and looking at it through the lens of a body of work. And that's allowed me to have a bunch of great years at it with accuracy. But last year, if the committee makes a bunch of dumb decisions that I don't agree with, and I'm not being very nice, but I'm just very frustrated by a couple of the decisions last year. And it was probably my worst score on the bracket matrix. And I'm actually proud of that, because I did not want to be like them last year and have a good score.
Yeah, you don't need to apologize to be mean. We encourage it. What
score are you referring to?
I'm pretty sure his Mountaineers.
I know his number one, and it's not, I think, what you're talking about, Matt.
Yeah, well, I'll leave the Mountaineers out of it I'll touch on them. Really, I would be upset too if I was a Mountaineers fan for obvious reasons. But there's been committees before last year where this injury thing comes up to a star, whether it was early in the year, late in the year, whatever, and they will just evaluate the games that they didn't have the guy. But I predicted that, and I had West Virginia out because of that. And it wasn't because West Virginia didn't belong. I just didn't think they would put Texas in, and that's the one that didn't get enough national scrutiny. I was reacting live with Jeff Goodman on Field of 68 when it happened. But there was no precedent to include Texas last year. They lost 7 games at home. I've never seen that before for an at-large team to lose that many home games. Winning home games in college basketball is a must. You can't trip up that many times. And they had 15 losses. So I think they're the 6th team in history to lose 15 games and still get selected, which is fine. There was precedent for that part of it. But all those other examples, those teams did extraordinary things. They went and beat number 1 seeds or number 2 seeds on the road, big road wins to make up for all the losing. Last year's Texas team, their best road win was at number 8 seeded Mississippi State, a middle of the pack SEC team. That was their best road win. So they didn't do anything extraordinary. They picked up 2 wins early in the SEC tournament, which usually didn't matter until last year. They tried to make that matter. There was just a lot of norms broken. And plus, the kicker is their strength of schedule was 285th. They literally scheduled the 7 of the worst 15 teams in college basketball last year for bye games on purpose, which is fine. But that's supposed to kill you when you're on the bubble. And there was no punishment for Texas. And I think it got blinded by the North Carolina madness.
Rocco, you reference home wins there for Texas. I remember last year a talking topic for you that I was all subscribed to as well was UC Irvine's road wins, how many road wins they had last year. And all these metrics, they all, I feel like some people will value some more than others. And you have the net, which is an evaluation tool. But when people start, bringing up quad 1 wins and how many you have, that's the biggest disconnect I have with the power conference teams versus mid majors is they get the more opportunity to stack quad 1 wins. Or if you still have that losing record, that's the one thing I don't necessarily totally agree with. And there's this new metric that is getting more and more buzz this year called WAB, aka wins above bubble. And I was wondering if you could explain a little bit of how maybe WAB is trying to correct maybe the disconnect in net a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, no, you said it great, Noah. I think first of all, we've seen it over the course of time. Every year, it seems like it gets harder and harder for the mid-major to break through. The earliest year of the net, it was kind of exciting because Wofford finished in the top 20 and got a 7 seed. And as a mid-major guy, I'm like, this is awesome. Like, and then we had Buffalo. Buffalo was phenomenal with Nate Oates. They played all the way to a 5 seed. I'm like, this is fair. They go out and they beat the crap out of people. And Buffalo was a beautiful team under Oates. And they're getting rewarded for it. So I felt like the early years of net, it's not even that long ago. It started in 2019, was starting to reward these types of teams. But once the data came in from those first few years of net, I feel like a lot of things with college basketball from an infrastructure standpoint began to change, whether it was more NIL money for the top of the sport, which is getting more and more extreme each year. Like this year compared to 2023, when Florida Atlantic made the Final Four, is drastically different. Like there's no way that that starting five for Florida Atlantic would have been able to look at themselves in the mirror as individuals and not move up to Power 5 right now. And that's why we're looking at a season now where the talent pool, you're going to get a lot more money being the 10th guy at Louisville than you will be being the man at Belmont. It's just the facts. So that didn't exist even just a few years ago. So that's part of it. But then, of course, the evaluation part, like you asked about, even when a mid-major is having a great year, whether it's Miami, Ohio this year, St. Louis, et cetera, it's very, very difficult because in the scheduling game, people know who's going to be good going in. They knew those two teams, for example, and they're not scheduling them. So we saw that show up throughout the non-conference play. And now, of course, the narrative is they didn't play anybody. Why would we let them in? And you can even say that about St. Louis if you really wanted to. And so then you bring in a tool that's resume based, and it's been popular. Like Noah, I'm sure you've known about it for years. The Wins Above Bubble is effectively a tool that's designed to effectively give you an accumulation score. So I think it's really easy for somebody that all the audience here knows numbers, right? So every time you win a game, if you win a big game, you get a lot of points towards your score. It's in decimal points, but think of it as like $1. So if you go win at Michigan, which nobody typically does except for Wisconsin did, you're getting basically a full $1 for that win. But if you go beat Air Force at home, you're getting like a penny. But every single thing, every time you take the court, you're getting some sort of increment in the value. And every time you lose, you're going backwards. And it's the exact same on the losing end. If you lose to a horrible team, like NC State lost to Georgia Tech at home this year, they're going backwards more substantially. And the whole point of the tool is to have about, by the end of the year, 40 to 45 teams, which are exactly about how many get picked as at-large bids. Actually, there's 37, but you mix in some of the power conference champions, you get to 40 to 45. That will finish at like above sea level. Then 320 teams will finish in the negatives. So it just gives the committee a really clean piece of information where everybody got to work towards their score. Now, obviously, the mid-majors just get little, pennies and nickels at a time, while the big boys get quarters and $half at a time to compare with. And that gives, so Miami, Ohio's won all their games, but they're still number 32 in that. Because their money's just not, if you think of it as money, it's not adding up to a ton, but it's still above water.
Let's keep it there with Miami, Ohio, because obviously Bruce Pearl's comments went viral on the internet there, and that might be happening too. But YouTube.com/The College Experience.
Vetta knows me too well.
Rocco, I know you know the mid-major game better than, frankly, I feel like everybody. Like you hit us with scheduling news all the time with these mid-majors, and your site covers all of that. Miami, Ohio, we had Travis Steele on the show a couple years ago, but he's said this publicly. He couldn't find anybody to schedule, right? They knew they won 25 games last year. They were returning a lot of the production from a season ago. So what are they supposed to do? Because like the Bruce Pearl comment is so ridiculous. It's so college football, right? I feel like college football bled into college basketball for that comment. I know he's got his son on there, and maybe I would do the same if it was White Tiger out there, my son. But what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do if you're Miami, Ohio? Because we have people that hop in the chat and say like that they shouldn't be in the tournament, and I'm like, what? To me, I have a theory. Like anyone that goes 25-0 to start the season can we just write a law saying they're in? Right? Like I just feel like they should be in. But just what do you make of the whole thing? Do you believe Travis Steele couldn't find anybody? You talk to these coaches all the time. I was at you at media. I was with you at media days, and they knew you on first name basis. They're like, "Who's this trash you're rolling with?" Right? But do you believe? Do you believe Steele's comments? And what's your overall like evaluation of Miami, Ohio?
Yeah, well, first of all, he's mostly correct, and some of it he has to, soapbox it a little bit. It's part of his job, right? It's part of his job. But I know there were some teams not in the Power Five, but good teams like they could have came out and played St. Mary's. That was available to them. They could have played some very, very solid teams that want to play good mid-majors. The St. Mary's formula, look at the St. Mary's non-conference. It's like the who's who of mid-major. They'll get Akron. They'll get Northern Iowa. They'll get Chattanooga, who's had a down year, but they were supposed to be good if they didn't get injured. In North Texas, Arkansas State, right? That's the St. Mary's model. Miami, Ohio fit it perfect. They could have played them. They could have maybe played Santa Clara. They could have played maybe like a Memphis type of team because Penny, to his credit, will play anybody. But outside of that, he's right. Like he was getting those from the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, SEC, etc. So he didn't have to schedule 3 non-D1s. He did that, so he deserves whatever that's worth. But it's hurting him right now because there's a precedent where if you get to 29 Division I wins, nobody's ever been left out. And right now they're still stuck at 26. So pay attention to that D1 win total because I think if they get to 29, even if they lose a game this week, they're going to still find a way in. I think the formula would require a loss this week and then a loss in the championship game. But the other frame of mind, too, just from talking to committee members is if they finish the regular season undefeated, they could go out in flames in the first round in Cleveland. I think they're getting in. But, and then to Bruce Pearl's comments, he's got to do what he's got to do. I mean, his kid's on the bubble, and Auburn's flaming. They're a disaster right now. Have you seen they haven't played defense in a month. Like, if you run the tour.
Ole Miss.
Yeah. Ole Miss had 10 losses in a row before they went to Auburn and got right. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the overall picture. I don't know if I answered all the questions in there, but I just think I would say Travis Steele's about 80% honest when he talks about the schedule because he did have some opportunities, which is fair. I think 80% is pretty good for a coach. And then I think on them going undefeated, like that's the whole point of that WAB tool, the WAB, is that if anybody else played your schedule, it's basically telling us only 31 teams in the country could also go undefeated, and everybody else 300 plus would lose a game somewhere. So I think it's effective with those examples.
Okay. Curious so the bubble. First off, you're doing a live thing on YouTube soon, right? When is that? And explain what is that for people that want to see, because you're basically going to be mimicking what the committee would be doing. Can you talk about that for a second? Because I do want to ask you about some of these teams on the bubble.
Yeah,
absolutely. So shout out to Kerry Miller, not related to me, does the Bleacher Report bracketology. He's been around a long time. We've had guys over the years from like USA Today, just a lot of guys who are really involved in the process. You see a lot of cheap bracketologists online that just throw out a seed list or put out a fancy tweet or whatever, but there's no like explanations to their decisions. They just however they get to their answers, they get to their answers. And then usually when whoever wins the bracket matrix every year, it's somebody you've never heard of that put a seed list together on the last day and wins the thing. So we're more deeply ingrained in the details about why so-and-so is where, and you could ask us about any of the teams on the board and we'll tell you exactly why they are the way they are. And that's why at some points it's been up to like 9 of us. I think we're at 6 or 7 for this year. But all of us are very skilled at being able to differentiate teams and explain our decisions. Then we go in and do our live voting. We've actually cleaned that up. So it won't be as painful to watch this year. I think we'll do the whole thing in like 2 to 3 hours on each day. So it starts Thursday night. I want to say it's at 8 Eastern. I'll tweet out the time on Thursday morning in case I'm off by an hour. And then we'll go Friday night, we'll go Saturday, and then Sunday we'll actually put out a full bracket based on the entire process. But like Kerry Miller will host it this year. We've had TK brackets from Stadium in years past. He's taken a year off. He's on vacation in Europe or something. But it's pretty cool because even like each year, there'll be one part of it that I totally forgot about where, all right, if we get a tie in this spot, we have to revote for however many more times. There's tons of voting. There's tons of interesting discussion. And it's interesting because when we all see a bracket on Selection Sunday and freak out, which we will every year, there's always at least one team where we're pissed off. It's just the nature of the beast. But when you actually go through the process, you realize you just got 12 people blindly voting. And sometimes you can't explain why West Virginia got left out. It's just like all these votes came in and we're only able to take the top 6 on the list and like West Virginia's 7th. And that's it. Go on national TV and explain yourself. It's like you kind of get a little bit more respect for them from that standpoint because, it is tough, but the NCAA is a little different. Like, I think they're done with all their stuff like Saturday morning, and they literally spend like the next 24 hours training for the questions and answers. They have to because there's billions of dollars on this tournament. And even though the Bubba Cunningham thing was really, really crazy last year, they made money off that. I mean, people were seeing Bubba clips for 4 straight days until an actual game started.
100%. So yeah, I mean, I saw him at ACC football days. We had a chuckle.
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you. I definitely hear you.
I want to ask you right now. So I'm just pulling up randomly here. I've had this page.
Are you going to bubble, Colby?
Yes.
Can I ask a team that's not on the bubble why 100%. They're currently where they are? So
Michigan.
Well, Michigan's in the conversation.
That's a tough one. You might want to hold off on this.
We have talked about this team a lot this year. Can you explain to me why Arizona's not one? I know a lot of people are throwing around like Duke and Michigan, number 1 overall. If you want to continue to value non-conference scheduling and strength of schedule and non-conference, like Arizona played an extremely good non-conference schedule, hit the road a couple of times and knocked off a team like a UConn. Could you explain that 1 seed debate currently?
Yeah, Arizona's got an interesting case because if you go, one thing I value more than most, and this is more traditional, like the committee used to always value road wins the most. That carries the most juice. It's the hardest thing to do. There's a fun stat I'll share with you guys, and it's probably like based on the last 5 years. But in quad 1 wins, guess what percentage of quad 1 wins are true road wins?
Like 18%.
Any guesses? 18? It's a little higher than that. It's like 27, 28%. Okay. And so it's really hard to get. And that's why, like for me, when I go through the exercise, I'll document every quad 1 win on the road, true road game by the team name they beat. And you look at Arizona, they won at UConn, they won at Houston, they won at BYU, they won at UCF, they won at TCU. That's 5 right there. All those teams are in right now. And it's a great question, Noah, because you start looking at it from that traditional standpoint and you're like, all right, screw all the metrics. Let me just see who this team's beat and what they've proven. You can make a really good argument for Arizona. Now, I think the only issue is they didn't play Duke or Michigan, so we don't know.
Yeah, and
for sure with
those two are off of predictives, right? So,
well, a little bit. They both also have very strong wins, but it's not as strong at the top if you look at road first as Arizona, and that's why it's interesting.
Well, I'd like the thing that jumps out to me, and maybe it's just a recency bias, is I can't recall off the top of my head. I'd probably have to do a deep dive. That many great wins by a team that's not number 1
overall.
Yeah,
number 1 overall.
Right.
Like
right.
I
and I think all 3 of those teams on a normal year would have the goods and the merits to be the number 1 overall. So we'll see. Like if anybody falls, there's an opportunity to drop. Obviously, the interesting thing is Duke now has the direct win over Michigan, and it was late in the season. So I just think, Michigan can certainly keep winning in the Big Ten. They get another Michigan State and a road Iowa game this next week. That's just going to help. So by the book, they could supersede Duke, but that head-to-head, the committee's not going to do that. They're going to keep Duke at the top.
Interesting. Okay, now I want to go back to the bubble.
Yep.
Because I just pulled up, I know there's a million different bubbles we could look at. I know there's bracket matrix and everything, but I've had this window open for a while, so I just keep going to CBS Sports. Someone's got to, like, they refreshed it today, 9 a.m. Their bracketology has Auburn as the first team out. I know we kind of talked trash about them a few minutes ago. I don't understand. I just don't understand how they have Auburn or even like USC as the first 8 out. Can you make it make sense to me of why Auburn, who has what is their record? Their past 10 games, Mac. Do you remember? Like, it's got to be something terrible. Yeah, 2-8. Okay.
Sure.
Swamp somehow.
I'm curious
in their last 8.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like when you get in the room with your pals there, or your colleagues, and you're figuring this out. Where would you guys have Auburn? Would you guys really have Auburn right on the bubble, first team out or last team in?
Me personally, I can't even consider them because the bottom line is they have so up until last year. Here's the other thing that was unprecedented about Texas last year. I'm glad that we already established that. But one of the main categories I didn't even bring up is when you take quad 4 wins out of the picture, just tell me what your record is. Because you're supposed to win all your quad 4 games. Obviously, they're like low end buy games in most cases. And last year, Texas was 10-13. They're the first team under 500 that I can remember since the quads just started in 19. So it's been six brackets since then. But that's another rule that Texas broke, and they broke it in a big way. They were 3 games under 500. It's just like they were way off my board last year. I'm still dumbfounded by it, and now I'm the one who has to adjust if I want to be accurate. So I will, but it's painful, believe me. And Auburn is way more out of bounds now themselves with that Ole Miss loss. I think they're 9-13 when you take away the quad 4. But the bigger thing now, well, first of all, I want to answer your question. Your question was, why are they even near the cut line? The big thing, of course, is they won in the swamp. So they actually did something amazing. I know Florida didn't play well that night, but they're the only team to go in there and actually win the game. That matters a lot in bracketology in terms of top of your resume. Obviously, the rest of the bubble can't compare to that. Nobody has a win that good. Florida's all the way up to 5th overall on the board, waiting for a 1 seed to fall. If they do, Florida will probably get to a 1. So that's huge. I mean, that 1 win is huge. But you can't tell me that 1 game is more important than 14 losses. That just doesn't balance out at all. And they beat St. John's in Vegas way back in the NIL tournament. They got some decent home wins, beat NC State at home, Texas, Kentucky, Arkansas. But all of that was a long time ago. In the eyes of the committee, it's treated the same. So it didn't matter if it happened yesterday or at the start of November. Obviously, guys like us, we're watching the games every day. We know this team's not a tournament team right now. So it makes it difficult. The lucky thing on Auburn is it's going to sort itself out, because if they're a 15-loss team at the end, they have to win their last 2 games to do that, because they have 14 right now. They got LSU at home, and then they have Alabama on the road. If they split those in either direction, they're going to have a 16th loss in the SEC tournament. And no team with 16 losses has ever gotten in. I don't think they're willing to go on a ledge to do that for Auburn, the committee, be another unprecedented step. And so I really think Auburn's season's on the line. They have to go 2-0 this week. And then if they do, they're going to get in. And if they don't, they're going to be off the board for me.
And I'm curious USC too, because I look at USC and I'm like, how the hell is USC? We watch games every night. And I'm like, look, I got nothing against USC. Besides them being in the Big Ten. But can somebody make this make sense of how they would be one of the top teams out, or like just the fact they're even close to it? When I see a bunch of other teams that I think are much better than them, that's another head scratcher to me.
Well, for USC, throughout the season, they got the big win at Wisconsin, and that's aged pretty well because Wisconsin's won at Michigan. Wisconsin won another big road game after that. And so that aged very well, like a fine wine for the Trojans. But the only other win they have that is a team that's near the field, and now they're clearly out, is Indiana. And that was a home win, so it's really not worth a whole lot of weight. The only other thing I see on my bubble chart that I like about USC compared to others is their road neutral record is still, I think, 9-6 right now. They've won at Minnesota. A lot of teams have lost at Minnesota. We just saw another team in UCLA lose there the other day. The Oregon and Penn State wins don't seem like much, but when you're comparing the bubble, you throw the quad 2 road wins in there as well. And just having a winning record away from the Galen Center is better than most of the bubble, as sad as that sounds. But I think the way they've played lately, and with the news today of Chad Baker-Mazara leaving the team, I think the writing's on the wall pretty clearly.
Rocco, one of the bubble teams that I'm most fascinated by, and as a mid-major advocate like yourself, like myself, like us on the college experience, I find a real tough time defending Santa Clara's bubble case. But I see that they're right there. Like net, they're in in that range. WAB, they're in that range, but they've got the one quad win against St. Mary's. But overall, it's just not a very thick resume, and they have that black eye loss to Loyola Chicago. What's the case for Santa Clara, and what's the case against Santa Clara, if I didn't already state it?
No, it's a good point. And this is where like tools like the WAB and net and whatnot can help the mid majors. So I don't want to totally dismiss it as disadvantaged, but Santa Clara, like for them to go perfect against the rest of the WCC, which is the 4th through 12th place teams, they went undefeated in those games. That's actually really hard to do as somebody who knows the league well. You know, they go to Pacific and they run away with a double-digit win. That's a place a lot of teams struggled at. Seattle has given teams fits. They almost beat St. Mary's. Santa Clara ran away from Seattle. So anyway, just a lot of that should add up to something. It's just hard to quantify, and that's where the WAB tool can help them. You remember earlier in the year, at the very beginning of the year, they go to Xavier, and at one point they're winning the game by 40. You know, like this team is Herb Sendek's deepest team. They go 24-7 for the year. You know, they have 4 wins inside the top 2 quads on the road, which is still like, yes, they didn't get the tournament level win on the road, but they went to Xavier, they went to Pacific, they went to their rivals, San Francisco, Washington State. Like all those games matter a little bit for the bubble. And obviously all their road records, their quad records are much stronger because they've been so consistent, minus the one slip up. And just the fact that they got one of the 4 chances against St. Mary's and Gonzaga, especially after the week St. Mary's just had, that actually helps them look better. And so I think right now, especially with the way the bubble played this last week, Santa Clara would be in good shape. But obviously, if they slip up in the WCC tournament, they're going to be sweating bullets going into Sunday. It'd be a long wait as well.
Hold on, Rocco,
go fire.
I want to ask a conference question here. So
Okay.
obviously, I'm the Big 12 guy. I want to know how the Big 12 potentially could get the 4th most bids compared to the SEC and Big 10 and ACC when they beat up on all of them in the non-con. And I hear the narrative that the Big 12 bottom half is really, really bad. But you look at it, Utah beat Ole Miss. Kansas State beat Mississippi State. OK State has a win over A&M. Colorado.
TCU beat Florida. Yeah.
TCU beat Florida. Colorado beat Washington. So I'm confused at how the Big 12 potentially is not getting as much credit in the bottom half. Everybody knows how good they are at the top half. But I don't understand how the SEC and Big 10 could potentially have more teams in over a league that dominated both of them in the non-con.
Well, I hear you from a depth perception point of view, but the teams that are in contention, right? Like, so TCU, I think they've played their way in. They're still like barely going to Dayton in my bracket for tomorrow, but they're the safest of the Dayton teams. And if TCU can just close with a decent finish, I think they're going to find their way in thanks to those wins. That will help the league secure the 8th spot. But now you have long shots like Cincinnati, West Virginia with a good couple of games last weekend, this weekend. Oklahoma State's had some really nice wins earlier in the year. But you have to evaluate each team in their own entity. And then at the end of the bracket process, you look back, you're like, oh, wow, they got 9 in. Oh, they only got 8. So it's not one of those things that ever gets discussed in the process because you're always comparing team by team. And sometimes you're getting 4 teams from the same league. Like in the 4 and 5 seeds right now, it's been really difficult to separate. Just to give you an example, it's been really difficult to separate Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. They're all from the same league, but that's just, because it's a snapshot in time. By next week, they, 2 of those teams could get hot, 2 of them could lose twice, and they're not being compared that way anymore. But you're not wrong. I mean, I'm just saying, like, as individual teams, when you look at Oklahoma State, you're just waiting for one big win, and they don't really have that quite yet. With West Virginia, you wish you had not the home Utah loss, and you wish you had, a couple more road wins you could point to. You have the big home wins for West Virginia, but you need more on the road. Cincinnati lost at home to Eastern Michigan. That killed them, absolutely killed them. And of course, they had some bad weeks after that as well. And so since it's a body of work exercise and you're evaluating every single result for different individual reasons, they're stuck at 8 right now. Doesn't mean it's impossible for Oklahoma State to get even hotter. I think West Virginia, maybe if they count some of the Big 12 tournament results, make a little run there. But that's really the reason. I can't give you I can promise you that the committee doesn't sit there and say, screw that league, they're only getting 8. That conversation doesn't exist. Where it can exist is, like, if you get to the end of the bubble and you've got Indiana, USC, and Ohio State, all from the Big Ten, you're not sold on any of them. That's where I could see, like, the committee members huddling up and being like, all right, let's get one of these Big Ten teams through. Which one do we like? Or maybe it's 2 or whatever. You get a vote and I vote for you. I've heard of that stuff happening in college baseball. Noah and I have joked about that because that's actually documented in college baseball. We have no evidence of that in college basketball, so hopefully it doesn't exist. But that's where, if it's like right on the edge and you got 2 or 3 from the same league, maybe there's some horse trading going on.
Can I talk big picture here? Because this is just like an observation as a big time college basketball fan. And I feel like, are we putting too much weight into these numbers? You mentioned winning on the road. I interviewed John Shire about at ACC Media Days, just talking about his road schedule, and they were playing at Army to honor Coach K, and then at Michigan State. And I thought he would give me a positive clip on, hey, he gets to play Tom Izzo at a legendary arena. But if anything, he said no. He goes, I tried to cancel it, but we honored it. We're honoring it because during COVID we needed an opponent, and they came to us right away, and we needed an opponent. So, but they've called us back and says, hey, you got to come up here. We went down there. So one thing I've noticed is there's a ton of neutral site games, and it drives me crazy. And they're fake neutral site games. They're like a game in Greensboro, right? Duke playing, and I'm not just trying to single out Duke here. I'm talking everybody. I feel like the sport is being kind of ruined by the metrics in a way, like the numbers, but because it doesn't count as a true away game, the fan is suffering. And I think we're putting too much weight in the numbers because they don't count as a true away game. But if you play a game, if Syracuse plays a game in Buffalo, I don't know if Syracuse, because their fans have been terrible, but you know what I mean?
Or the Garden. Or the Garden.
You know what I mean? Like, they're going to have that crowd, or they should have that crowd if they're good, right? There's plenty of examples of this. It's driving me crazy. I think we're putting too much into the numbers, in my opinion. Like, how do we reverse that, or what's your overall take on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I understand the strategy behind it, and being involved in scheduling is, it's evident that why you would do it. Todd Golden's a guy that used to be a neighbor of his, when he coached San Francisco, right? And now he's a national champion. He wants 6 neutral court games a year because he understands the numbers. If you play a top 50 team on a neutral, you're still playing a quad 1 game. If you play a top 25 team on a neutral, you're playing a quad 1A game. And it goes down the line from there. So even when they play their Orange Bowl deal, like this year, you're probably wondering, why is Florida playing George Washington in the Orange Bowl? Well, it's purposely done because George Washington was like, they wanted a quad 2 game on purpose, and George Washington was a perfect fit for that. So some of that is the numbers. Not hardly any coach can catch up to like Todd's level of analytics and thinking and scheduling, but a lot of it is NIL as well. So you have like BYU play UConn in Boston, right? And it's obviously like a pro UConn crowd, but like the amount of money they generated for both teams is in the 7 figures, and they can spin a neutral site game, do ticket buys, things of that nature. And then whatever the fans buy the tickets at, that extra money goes all back to the players. And so they're doing that too to kind of motivate more. And it's brought up more, companies that want to run them. And I get it, like from a true fan perspective, you want those games on campus. And it's cool that like Kansas and North Carolina did campus series. We saw Purdue and Alabama do campus series. I want those to continue. Arizona and Duke finished one last year. That was awesome. We need that. And I just think with the money part of it, it's tricky because it's like, who am I to tell them not to go get another $1 million for their seventh guy, sixth guy or their sixth man, right? So it's just there's so much that goes into that. And also, if you game the system, you get those quad 1, quad 2 opportunities. Whereas you play that team at home, it might count as a quad 2, and you might still lose. Like that's a good way to get the coaches to agree to play.
Yeah,
the game.
that's what I hate. That's what I hate. Though it's like, well, if we do this, we can play this in Dayton instead, and
right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, Colby, I got to tell you this because like when you try to put a home and home together, and Mac probably knows this from his time on staff, nobody wants to start on the road. So I'll have like 20 teams call me in the summer, and they all want to start home and homes. 19 of the 20 that I write down will all want to only start at home, and I'm just like, this. You guys are all going to be stuck in a month, and sure enough, I'm right.
Unbelievable.
The egos. Well, especially like the mid-major coaches because they're thinking about the next jump. They're like, I'm not going to be here. Just give me the home game, and the next coach behind me can worry about the road game.
We talked to.
That's exactly right. And then what ends up happening is if they get a new coach, they might not return the trip, and then the other team gets screwed.
100%.
Yeah, I see that.
Happens all the time.
And the coach could get canned too, and then the other one doesn't want to fulfill it.
It's wild, man. It's really wild. There's 65 to 70 coaching changes a year now. So if you're in a 12-team conference, you're at least getting 2 on average coaching changes.
Can we talk about first off, Colby, Mac, any bubble questions that I might be skipping over? Did you have any more?
Well, I want to know where he's at. East Carolina. Look, big win against Penny Hardaway today. Clearly we're alive to make the AAC tournament. Strong conference named after the country.
All right,
we live
local
in.
radio show host.
We breathe air in this country. Why is it the Pirates and Shorts are coming on? When you walk into that room. When you guys have the conversation about East Carolina,
do they get any style points for the Jordan Riley dunk tonight?
That was incredible. That might have been the dunk of the year.
It moved him up a full 2 C lines from number 24 to number 22.
I've got East Carolina filed under vote of confidence because that's what Mr. Schwartz got this week.
He did. I don't know that I agreed with that, but look,
here we go.
Let's go.
Rocco. So from the outside looking in, is it hell trying to structure the bracket when you've got the cluster of ACC and SEC teams within the 7 to 10 seed range that there is?
It can be, but I understand how all the rules work at this point. But I would understand if you were like a couple years or a rookie at it, it would be so frustrating that maybe you would give up on it.
Yeah.
But they've actually loosened a few of the rules now to where they'll permit rematches if they have to. They don't want rematches, and I don't think the fans do either. But if you have 5 ACCs in the 8-9, you're going to have a rematch somewhere. Plus, you have Duke as a 1. So you might end up seeing Duke have to play an ACC team in the second round. I got lucky with that because Duke doesn't play Miami this year. So my new bracket has a possible Duke-Miami matchup, but there's no rules against that because they're actually not even scheduled to play each other. So I would kind of want to see that game.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. Like that Duke doesn't play, especially knowing that he was on the staff. That would have been good drama. How'd the ACC miss that?
It was definitely intentional. It was the other direction, Colby.
Shocking.
If you catch
shocking.
Yes.
Mac, you got any other questions, bubble wise? You want to throw at Rocco?
We have to ask about America's team. It's in there.
Our local radio show host.
Are we talking Army?
Yeah. Navy.
Yeah. Navy's incredible. I mean, we should talk about Navy for a second, right?
We're talking about God's country over here in Morgantown, West Virginia. Snapped the snide, beat BYU yesterday, bumped into Ren Baker, athletic director, on the way out of the Coliseum last night. And I was like, we get these 2 this week, we're in. We should be in. He said this was him. This was him saying this to me. I've been on a lot of committees. If the Mountaineers have 10 wins in the Big 12, the best league in America, it's going to be hard for them to leave them out. So what do the Mountaineers got to do to get into the dance here? If they beat Kansas State, that's a big if, because this, like, West Virginia, like,
beating the worst team in the Big 12. That's a big if.
Hey, being a
senior night, right?
Like,
isn't it senior night?
Just like I said with Marshall, when you're supposed to win, those are the hardest games to win. So just win that game, and if they beat UCF, which would be a sweep over the Shiny Knights, and they'd have a sweep over Cincinnati, 10 wins. Do they got to get one in Kansas City too?
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, because what's that?
That would get them to 20 overall if they get these two, and then they get one in Kansas City.
It's a nice record overall, but I think when you look at the unbalanced nature of the Big 12 schedule, they played Arizona once, they played Kansas once, they played BYU once, they played Iowa State once, they played Texas Tech. They got the easiest possible Big 12 schedule, and because of that, they haven't had the opportunities. And if they did and they lost them, whatever, they would have a bunch of losses. If they did and they won them, they would clearly be in. And that's what's making it hard to evaluate. They did beat Kansas and BYU in Morgantown, which is awesome. The road win at UCF, also terrific. Beating Cincinnati is not nothing also. They swept them. And so you like all those things, but the loss to Xavier on a neutral court didn't age at all. The home loss to Utah is a real killer. And then, other small examples like losing to Wake Forest by 9, losing to Ohio State, who's also on the bubble. That probably should have been a win. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Things like that just all add up. You look at quad 1 and 2 right now, Mac, and they're 6 and 11. I mean, it's just they have to win these two just to get interesting. And I get the other selling points. The 20 wins and the 10 and 8 are awesome. But because they played all the elites once instead of twice, that's a huge difference. When you get to play the majority of the bottom of the league twice, you should have a better record. So that's just where it stands right now. Right now, the WAB's got them 60. I think if they get 2 wins, because UCF's good, that'd be a sweep
quad
of
1,
the
right?
Knights.
Would UCF at home be quad 1?
No, because UCF's net is bad because they've had some weird performances, but it doesn't matter. Like, to me, what matters is that UCF's a tournament team. That's what a lot of the committee looks at as well. So if you beat a tournament team, you're getting extra credit for that. And that helps because that would give them 4 tournament level wins. They've got UCF the first time plus BYU Kansas. You get 4. That's most of the bubble doesn't have 4. So that's a good place to start the conversation. You could get that WAB from 60, hopefully all the way up to 50. Might be a stretch to do that, but if they get into the top 50, they'll be heavily looked at. And like I said, if they can consider those first couple of Big 12 tournament games, Mountaineers get a win or 2 there, maybe 3, then we might have a real serious conversation.
Rocco, I know we've got probably 10 minutes with you more before we let you go. We wanted to squeeze a couple of large-scale topics out of you and possible predictions. I'll start off with a cheese ball for you. One of my favorite reasons to follow you is just the outstanding travel that you do and coverage on no matter what conference or size of school. You're all over the country talking college basketball. If we're talking pound for pound, so like in boxing, you could have a 115-pound boxer and a heavyweight ranked in the same list. Obviously you look at a heavyweight, they could beat a 115-pound boxer, but pound for pound, the best team or the most impressive team you've seen in person this year?
Well, I thought it was Illinois, but man, their performance against Michigan was a little disheartening, to be honest. I like the roster construction. When you got 7-footers that can step out and drain threes, it's crazy. But maybe I don't know. I think you guys talk about this a lot. Maybe some of these European guys just aren't physical enough yet. Like, they're just a little softer than the Michigan types. Like, where it's just college basketball is the most physical brand of basketball, I think, in the world. You look at teams like Houston. You look at UIC. You guys watch UIC? Yes. They're like the bullies. They're the bullies of the Missouri Valley. And there might be one or two examples like that at every level. And I just don't think there's a European league that can prepare you for it. And it's always been that way. But these guys are so darn talented. Like you look at the Greek Neo from Virginia Tech. But once those guys come inside and they get bulldogged, like they're not coming inside again. That's pretty much what Michigan did to some of these Illinois players. And I had to kind of reevaluate after that. And I think that's something important about, what Duke brings to the table physically, Arizona, Michigan. So it's part of why they are the way they are. But I think Illinois I save a lot of the top teams for the tournament because I do work the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16. So I'll see some elite teams up and close. And so that's probably Illinois is probably still the best pound for pound team I've seen. But, we were out there at St. Louis when they destroyed Dayton in the first round. And when St. Louis is clicking, they're pretty darn impressive, obviously. And I saw Gonzaga out here when they really rolled Santa Clara down the stretch. That game was really good until about 10 minutes to go. And there was like a little 10-0 run where Gonzaga was just fast and quick. They were very good as well. But Illinois is a different level. And if Michigan can do that to them, then Noah, you have a lot to be excited about.
Yeah. What about Rob Donaldson here is saying if you were to, I think Rob Donaldson covers college basketball as well. Yeah. Great guy.
We met at Northern Iowa last year. It was a great time.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. Rob Donaldson picks YouTube. Check it out. If you were to head-to-head evaluate Texas Tech and Florida, why is Florida ranked ahead of Texas Tech?
That's a great question. I don't think I can be convincing on either side. Texas Tech, of course, has the injury, but all we know since the injury is that they're awesome. They're 3-0, and they went to Hilton Magic and
dominated them.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, I think when you look at Texas Tech, they're 7 deep right now, and that's what worries me. If they take another injury, especially if Bambaye, the big man, he's been phenomenal. We didn't know he had that kind of offensive game. I thought they would actually have a chance to be better defensively without Toppin because he's such an offensive focused player. And the way that Grant McCaslin coached at North Texas told me, all right, well, maybe he starts sprinkling some more of the North Texas pace of play and, focus more on the defensive end. And they've done that, but they're also not dropping off at all offensively. But I just think with them being 7 deep right now, I'm hopeful they can get to the finish line with this group because you start looking at it where you remove a piece here, any of the pieces start getting removed, they're going to be real thin. But otherwise, these 7 dudes are awesome, and I'm ready to ride them all the way as far as they can go. I was there last year in the Elite Eight when they blew the 10-point lead to Florida, and so the whole mission from that day till now has to make sure they get to the Final Four, and they're not going to slow down just because JT Toppin's out. So I love that Texas Tech team. With Florida, it's funny you asked that question because I saw them play last year. A little different this year. Florida's obviously played on their strengths. I think those losses to Florida that Florida took early in the year has made them stronger and tougher. But the interesting thing is this whole dominant run has been against only SEC teams. And so we just don't know what it looks like when they step back out of the conference. Is the SEC a little bit down compared to Big 10 and Big 12 have 5 elite teams or 6 in each league. And Florida's the only team that's emerged in the SEC. Yeah. And part of that's their own fault for beating everybody's ass. But the other part is we just don't know because they lost to UConn. They lost to they lost to plenty of these. They lost to Duke by 1 point, probably should have won. Lost to Arizona on opening night. So, yeah, when Florida steps out of conference again, they're not even going to be sure themselves of, how close to number 1 they are until they beat these teams.
Yeah, I think that's the best point of it all is how good was the SEC in the non-con? It wasn't great. And then you're stacking all these wins in conference. That's all in conference wins. The league wasn't great at non-conference like it was last year. And I think it's living a little bit off of last year's historic run. Colby, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, there's a couple people in the chat that have decent questions. I don't know if you're crunched for time, Rocco, but
no, I'm good. Let's
give me 1 second though. I gotta get us paid for a second here. So, folks, I want to tell you that the College Basketball Experience is part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. March is here, and SGPN is giving away $25,000 in Survivor Madness. Winner take all. One person will take home 25 grand guaranteed. Think about that. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/survivor. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/survivor. New to Splash, use the promo code SGPN play. Use the promo code SGPN play $5, get $50 in bonus entries there. So do that and let it ride. We're also brought to you by Chalky. Chalky's a real money prediction market, legal in all 50 states, and Chalky has a ton of trading options for your favorite sports. Besides sports, they got a ton of other markets too: politics, entertainment, hell, even the weather. It's Chalky. You can trade anything. New Chalky customers get $20 when you use the promo code SGPN. That's Chalky, KALSHI. That's Chalky, promo code SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has been on an absolute heater for college hoops. Threw us a great party in Vegas last year at the Circa as well. For March Madness. Super easy to sign up, run predictions off the house model, or make your own and mess around with those sliders. Looking to go premium? Use the promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app. That's RITHMM for 25% off your first month. Download Rhythm, promo code SGPN25. All right, we are back with the great Rocco Miller once again. And people have been asking also, if you want to follow Rocco, I know bracketeer.org, but also on Twitter at Rocco Miller 8. If you love college hoops, which chances are, if you're following this show, you do. Get on over there, give them a follow, and check out bracketeer.org. So Monty Pritchett, big time mid-major fan, I think. He says you were in Nacogdoches for the McNeese Stephen F. Austin game.
No. Oh yeah, yes, I was McNeese. Yes, that's what it was.
He's curious if he thinks, or if you think they could win either as a 12 or 13 seed and even make a Sweet 16.
Sweet 16 is gonna be really hard because they're small. Like they're just gritty, but when they go up against a big boy, it's gonna be really difficult. They don't have a true center. Krishan Christmas is such a bulldog in the paint, like block shots. Great steady defense, doesn't leave his feet, he doesn't foul, so I love him like tremendously. I think he could be a person to fall in love with in the tournament if they can at least win a 12-5 game. But I think the bigger obstacle for them, of course, is they'll have to probably beat McNeese on McNeese's home court. McNeese has this crazy contract. That's a long story. We don't have to get into it now, but McNeese plays the tournament at home, so they have to win a road game just to get to March Madness. But they are so well connected. Keon Thompson, I think, will win Player of the Year in the conference, and he is a guy that most teams don't have and wish they had, with the ability to close out wins. So many of these games, you guys watch them all, right? Yeah. So many games, you get down to late game situations. It's all about the margins. How do you execute on the margins? And Stephen F. Austin is one of the best teams I've seen all year at this, where they get the ball to Keon. But if he draws a double, there's plenty of other capable shooters and scorers. They're very effective passers. That's why it's no surprise that some of the best passing teams are dominating mid-major basketball, whether it's Liberty, Belmont, Yale, Stephen F. Austin. Those four right there, elite passing teams. They're so connected and they're so good at anticipating and they're so good at moving without the ball that it's really, really difficult to prepare for. And it's no surprise that those four teams have won so many games. My problem right now is the upper tier of the sport with all the Power Fives. They would probably have to beat 2 Power Fives to get to the Sweet 16. I mean, they're going to have to play a perfect 40 minutes to do that, even against 5s and 4s. It's just, we're in a weird era of college basketball, man, where unfortunately these teams are so stacked from the power level that they'll probably have to go beat like a Vanderbilt and then, like a Kansas or something. Are you really going to pick that? I don't know. It'll be awesome. I want to see it, but it's a very difficult thing to pick.
Yeah. Also, Brock giving us $5 here, and I noticed I'll tie this in with the bracketology, which still has Cal on the inside. It's on CBS Sports. Yeah,
right in Rocco's backyard.
Exactly. I know you've been to the pavilion there. Look, how cooked is Cal with yesterday's loss to Pitt? Because according to CBS Sports bracketology, they dropped like a spot. They're still in. Your thoughts on that, and what do they need to get in?
You should be disqualified for losing to that.
Right?
Yeah, I'm pretty much with Mac on that. I think Yeah, the CBS thing's been frustrating because they fired Jerry Palm, which was fine. Like Palm was not putting out good projections for a while, but they replaced him with an AI tool that clearly doesn't work. So no shout outs to them.
Okay.
But
Let me delete that tab right now. But okay, continue on. Continue on.
Wait a minute. AI's doing that crap now?
Yeah, it's
I'm
bad,
out on
man.
that.
It's bad. Well, hopefully we'll get that corrected by next season. But
Yes.
as far as California goes, yeah, I mean the thing is they beat Miami on the road, and Miami's been playing great lately, and so that's actually like compared to the rest of the bubble, the linchpin of the resume. They of course beat UCLA out in the Warriors arena, and they beat North Carolina. North Carolina lost to both Bay Area teams when they came out here, and then the SMU win earlier this week. You're just like, wow, Cal's really going to get there. And then they turn around and lose at home.
I was on Pitt. I was on Pitt. There we go.
Yeah, and they have a loss to Kansas State this year. It was on the road at least, but it was before they fell apart. But it was not a good thing in terms of how it aged. So now Cal's all they have left is Georgia Tech, who's terrible, and it's a road game. They got to win that, obviously. And then they go to Wake Forest, which Wake's not a tournament team, but Wake's like a top end quad 2 road game. They got to win both, and then we'll reassess. But I think the Pitt loss in the end is going to doom them.
What? Oh, Noah, you got something to fire.
I mean, we're basically working in the same folder of the chat comments now. These guys are asking good stuff. So Benny Warnick asks, what mid-major makes the most noise in this year's NCAA tournament? Last year, the NCAA tournament was historically chalky. Not many mid-majors at all. Barked in the first round. Which
McNeese and Drake, right? Was just
McNeese,
right?
Drake, and Colorado State.
State, right?
Which ones can make some noise?
Should have been UC San Diego, but they got a bad whistle down the stretch against Michigan. Yeah. Sorry, Noah, but that's
I was on the Tritons money line there, so
I was living and dying with the Tritons last year. I love that team. Yeah. I wanted to see them go on a run. But for this year, I don't know if would you count South Florida, or are they too?
I guess that counts as mid-major technically, but yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously they have high major players, so they're an easy pick. But so they're a team that could clearly get to the Sweet 16, in my opinion, because they have dynamic athleticism. I think 4 of their 5 starters can play Power 5, no problem. I think a couple of them already have. So they're a different beast compared to the rest of the list. But I think UNC Wilmington is the team to watch, really, because they have a 7-footer in Patrick Wessler that can play at that level. He's 250 pounds. He can match up. It's just the problem with a lot of the other mid-majors is they simply can't match up, like I was hinting at with Stephen F. Austin. They're eventually just going to wear down with the size differential, or they're going to have to come up with some really crazy, ineffective zone techniques defensively to save their legs and to get stops. But when you look at Wilmington, you have to rewind the clock to last year on how they lost to Texas Tech late. They had the lead for a lot of the second half. It could have been the biggest upset of the tournament. Them and Robert Morris were the two really frisky 14-plus seeds that had a shot. And they bring back 3 of their main players, and they added Christian May from Towson, who was one of my favorite Towson players. They added a couple guys, actually, if you count Jonathan Lamoth from North Carolina A&T from the league. And, of course, Wessler came from Virginia Tech. So he's a high major big playing at Wilmington. I think Wilmington's built to match up, and Wilmington's got so much money that they didn't even take a bye game against a big school. So we don't know what that looks like even here on March 1st. So if Wilmington can get through the CAA tournament, that's a big if. They got swept by William & Mary, so they better not be on the same bracket as Bill and Mary. But if Wilmington can break through, I think that's a team to watch. The other one, they're becoming more of a long shot now, but I just like their roster from a beating a high major point of view, especially what they did in non-conference. And that would be the Murray State Racers, who's going to enter Arch Madness as the 4 seed. I'm not even picking them to win the tournament, but if they somehow were to win the tournament, they have the roster to go pound for pound with a high major with their athletes, and they're about 8 deep. The problem is they just don't get enough stops. You look at the numbers right now, Murray State's 230th in defense. It's unbelievably horrid. But they have the offense to score with anybody. You saw them put up 115 with no overtime against Akron. Like, they are absolute ballers, but they don't defend. If they can learn how to defend in a week, keep your eye on Murray State. I've had them on my list the whole time. I'm also curious what Navy looks like.
Thank you. I was just about to go there. I was just about to say, I didn't hear Navy here. I thought we're all sitting here. They're defending our freedom, but they're going to win 30 games probably. Talk to me about just in general the midshipmen. This is the best team since David Robinson, right?
It might be, man. They got through a couple times after David Robinson, but like they didn't win a game in the tournament. David Robinson took them to the Elite Eight. Can you believe that?
They lost to Duke. I think Coach K got them, right? Yeah.
That's freaking crazy. But Navy, the thing is they actually went to North Carolina, and it's a game like nobody's really paying attention to at the time. But if you look through that game, I rewatched some of it just to kind of just get a feel for what it's going to look like with Navy in a few weeks when they actually hopefully take the big stage. They were pound for pound the last 30 minutes. They just got into a big hole in the beginning, and they were down 10, I think, at the 10-minute mark of the first half. They played even with Carolina all the way to the end and lost by either 10 or 12. And I think that gave them a lot of confidence actually going forward. You saw them kind of screw around, and they played in the Wilmington MTE out there, and they lost to Sela. A stupid loss. They shot the ball terribly. But they've learned a lot about themselves since November. I think they're 24-1 in their last 25 games.
That's what I was about to say. What seed do you think they could get? Best case scenario.
They're at a 14. Yeah, they're up to a 14 now. I think that's where they're going to stick. I think 13 is a little too aspirational because they lost to Southeast Louisiana and a couple other head scratch. They lost to Penn State. That doesn't help. But, I think Navy at a 14 could be pretty fun.
Smiley here. Miss Millie.
Oh, sorry. M. Smiley, I was going to say. College basketball seems top heavy again. Do you foresee another chalky tournament? Because normally, Rocco, and I've hit on this, normally it's like once every 10 years we get a really chalky tournament, I feel like. Last year was one. But Beanick was asked this question last night in the show.
I just said it last night. I think this is another
looks
year
super
where
chalky
I see
again, potentially.
I think 3-1 seeds get to April.
Very possible. Very possible. Obviously, the 1 seeds are elite, and then you could throw Florida if they can carry forward into these non-conference tests once again in the tournament. You could throw them as a 5th as just dominant teams. But if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have put Houston on that list. Now we've seen Houston have some vulnerability. Perhaps you've seen UConn have some bad games and get away with it. The one game they didn't. They lost to Creighton at home, and so I think it's going to be a somewhat mostly chalky first round, sadly to say. I don't want that to happen. I really hope Miami, Ohio gets a winnable matchup because that would be incredible in a 6-11 game because they can really shoot the ball. They got to win a game like 95-93, but they can do it. They're not going to get a lot of stops against a high major team. So I think it's going to be mostly chalky first round, but I think this will be a really exciting second round. I think a lot of the 9 through 12s or what am I talking about? The 5 through 12s could beat the top 4 seeds, depending on who advances in the first round. I'm going to have a hard time picking a 13 plus seed in most cases, unless it's Wilmington or Navy, obviously. So that's where I'm at with it. I think second round could have a lot of fireworks.
That's what I'm thinking too. That's why I'm going against what Beanick was saying, but I can see his case. I could definitely. I mean, I feel like it's a common question everyone's asking right now. But what's
Rocco?
Up?
So No Lock Nathaniel brings up the 3 top A10 teams. We surprisingly enough have not talked too much about the A10 during this conversation, which has been a fantastic convo. But what are the chances they can get 2 at large? And if it's not 2 at large, what's the case for VCU being out compared to in right now in the NCAA tournament?
It's just hard for VCU because they've had 5 opportunities to play NCAA tournament level competition, and they're 0-5. Swept by St. Louis, and they played. I just pulled it up here. Vanderbilt, Utah State, and NC State lost all those as well. They did beat Virginia Tech. So I think VCU's best friend is Virginia Tech. If Virginia Tech can win at Virginia, it's a big if, but at least they have the game on their schedule to do it. If Virginia Tech wins at Virginia, I think there's a good chance the Hokies can squeeze back in. And that actually is only going to make VCU look better. It's so crazy. Yeah, go ahead.
No, say that's crazy. I was at that VCU NC State game, and I came away thinking, me and my brother were at that game. We were like, I think VCU is the better team that lost. Like, I just felt like they were taking it. Yeah. Rob Donaldson had a great question here. We know you travel so much, catching college basketball games everywhere. You've been to plenty of mid-major spots. He specifically wants you to pinpoint. Is there what mid-major is a must-see in person that maybe if someone out there, is thinking about a trip with the buddies, where should they be at if they're thinking of off the beaten path? They've probably already done Cameron Indoor. They've probably already done, Pauley Pavilion or whatever, right? Where could they go?
He just wants you to say Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa, baby. No,
Yeah.
I think in general, like the way I do it, I'm tracking the standings like a hawk, and then I try to wait as long as possible to make the move. Then if you're at a 1 versus 2 game, it could be anywhere. I did the Jacksonville State game against Murray State when Murray State had John Morant, and that place was like unbelievable. Like I couldn't even hear myself. I couldn't even collect my thoughts because it was so loud and rampant. But I know if I went to Jacksonville State in any other game, it would be probably kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it wasn't the Murray State game when John Morant was there.
Hey, 48 hours later, they lost to the old Governors. We got him in the letdown spot. We loved
Terry Taylor.
We were, Austin P and the Govs and Murray, we were travel partners. We always got him after John Morant. So John Morant was the Super Bowl, and it was always the Thursday-Saturday pairing. So we would get the letdown spot. We always beat Jack State, and they were good as shit too. So, yeah. Sorry. Continue.
No, that was a hell of an OVC that year. At least the top 4 or 5 were phenomenal.
Yes.
But I would just say if you want to plan a trip and it's going to be electric, both like in the Mountain West, I don't know if the Mountain West qualifies, but Utah State is crazy. Like it's absolutely crazy. We walked in there about an hour and a half to 2 hours before tip off, and the entire student section was already packed in. It seems like you're going to church because they're singing songs like nonstop. And then the roof, the reason the summit is so loud, the roof is it's like flat and low. So there's nowhere for the noise to go, and it goes right back onto the players. That's why they hardly ever lose there. The place is insane. And the Pitt is well documented. Like the Pitt is like, you got to see the Pitt. It's a bucket list. We did that last year. That was awesome. But there's an endless list of great choices. And I think if you could get, like for me, I just think it's the most exciting, a program that might've been down for 8 to 10 years. And they're finally in the top 2 in their league, and they get the home game against the other top. You have to be a last minute planner for that. But those are the best situations because the excitement is through the roof. Like if you go to any Miami, Ohio game this year, it's much different than any Miami, Ohio game in the last 10 years, right? So there's 2 rules of thumb. Like you're always good in New Mexico and Utah State. And then if you want to do something very different, like just track the standings.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, dude, it's your birthday. As much as I would fucking do a 3-hour show right now, a 5-hour show. But I mean, I feel like I'm taking time from you here. We're grateful that you jumped on the show. Hour and 15 minutes. Bar tab on me. If you're out in Vegas, Rocco, you got another question?
Yeah. As he heads out of here, he teased it at the top. Can you leave us with what your current travel schedule is for the March?
I'm still figuring it out. I'm actually going to sit down and get that together. But I think the tentative plan, like the obvious stuff, I'll be out in Indianapolis for the Final Four for however long that is, 7-8 days usually. Because I start all the scheduling stuff and do the comp. All the fans show up and do the games. It's an awesome week of basketball, and it's an awesome week of just networking with all the different levels of college basketball. Now the NCAA is bringing in the D2 tournament, the D3 tournament. The NIT is going to be there. So everything's going to be in Indy at the end. That's obviously scheduled. And then right now the idea is to get to Houston for that regional. That'll be the South region. But if I need to do a plan B, San Jose's hosting one too. So there's a percentage I might just stay and do San Jose out by near where I'm at. And then Vegas is the WCC, Mountain West, Big West. So I'm going to be around for the end of the WCC and then the start of those other ones. So those are locked and loaded. And then obviously going to see if I can try to get out to Vegas for a few days and see you guys.
Heck yeah, man. Well, hopefully we catch you. If not, I guess it'll be. I'll try to meet up somewhere there. What's up, Beanick?
I'm going to squeeze one more out of him.
Okay.
National championship pick.
Ooh, man, my My preseason pick was terrible, so I don't know if you want my pick at all now. I had Kentucky before. I thought Kentucky was going to be awesome, and I was dead wrong.
I'm in that boat too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a stupid pick. But I don't know. I think, honestly, just knowing Carlos Boozer, obviously Cam Boozer, he's won a championship at every level he's ever played in his life. I'm just gonna. I know picking Duke's not going to win you any brackets probably unless you win 1,000 tiebreakers with the points or whatever. But like, it's just going to be hard to pick against Boozer and that team the way they played against Michigan. They held Michigan to 63. Like, nobody else can do that. But at the same time, I don't trust John Shire either. So that's where I'm stuck. I would love to take you. I think UConn could be. They've really gotten bored. I think they've just gotten a little bit bored playing in the Big East. And nobody's a better motivator than Dan Hurley, and so that could be a really good pick as well. And then the Gators, I believe in everything they're doing. They might just be too good. So I'm not giving you a defined answer yet because I need to see match. I'm a matchups guy. Like, things break differently based on your matchups, but.
Yeah, it's really hard without seeing a bracket either. Without seeing a bracket, it's a really hard question to ask. I feel like nowadays we're doing so many radio hits and they ask you that question, and I'm like, I feel like I'm talking out of my ass. I'm just like, this Calvin Sampson's here. It's a loaded question from the start without seeing a bracket. But I mean, I get it. It's still a good question.
Hey, if you want a long shot, the Texas Tech 7 guys, they might be able to do it, and nobody will pick it.
I like that.
Yeah,
I think McCaslin's a hell of a coach.
It's just really risky with the like I said, if they lose one guy, they're in trouble, a lot of trouble. But the way they're going right now, I love what they're doing. You have to remember, Texas Tech has 2 head coaches. Like, a lot of people forget that. Jeff Linder is a second head coach
from Wyoming. Yeah.
I sat behind their bench in the Arkansas game and the Florida game last year in the regionals. And when they go to timeout, Jeff Linder's doing everything. He's calling all the plays. It's a genius operation. Grant McCaslin's defensive guy and a CEO. So they are wired and dialed in.
Fantastic stuff, man.
Yep.
Fantastic stuff. Texas Tech. Let's take those futures. There's some value play right there. His name is Rocco Miller. You should follow him. Bracketeer.org. Rocco, have a wonderful birthday, brother, and I hope to see you, at some point over the next month, and if not that, then at Media Days next year or somewhere. But thank you again, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, fellas. This was awesome. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks.
Anytime, brother. Yeah, anytime, brother. Take care.
Happy birthday.
Right. Cheers.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right. Well, look, how about reading a second ad read at an hour and a half? That was awesome, though. That was awesome.
Fantastic.
I hope the chat dug that. Obviously, Rocco is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to college basketball. I was hanging out with him in Vegas for Media Days, and it's just a wealth of knowledge, just sitting there picking his brain about shit. So if you love college hoops, you're probably following Dickie V or something, which, shout out to Dickie V. Love Dickie V. But you should be following Rocco Miller. All right, get over there, follow Rocco Miller, check out his work. And even in the offseason, you a big college hoops head, he's breaking down schedules way before anybody's even like. No one covers it. Honestly, I try to put together a spreadsheet in like July or August. I'm going to Rocco's website all the time, just plug it in. Okay, so just trying to figure out balancing my schedule. What games could I go to? But also, hey, I'm doing podcasts. I'm doing the football show. I'm doing this. So Rocco Miller has that, and then obviously just a wealth of just tons. Just follow him. Just follow him. All right, folks.
He's very plugged in the coaching industry. All my coaching buddies know Rocco Miller. Rocco's very dialed in to college. Yeah. He's a great follow. Great, and like us, he watches every damn game, and he loves the sport.
He genuinely loves it. Dude, I was sitting there at the WCC Media Days with him and the Mountain West Media Days and just walking around with him and stuff, just talking ball. Even when we weren't interviewing coaches, we're sitting there saying, "Oh, do you like this team? Yeah, this team." Yeah. And it's just you can tell why he's good at what he does because he has the passion for that. So make sure you check them out, folks. I want to tell you though, the college basketball experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has you covered for pick'em for almost every single sport that there is. Yes, and Underdog has just increased their payouts. 2 pick entries are now plus 3.5 times, where 3 pick entries are now 6.5 times. I mean, how great is that? We hit on one. I think it was a couple nights ago, and I'll even give out one right now because I was just doing the SGP show and I gave out one. I'm going to take Cam Boozer higher than 21.5 points tomorrow at the Pussy Pack of NC State. And I'm also going to take Tuesday Keaton Wagler higher than 18.5 points against the Oregon Ducks. That is some of the great stuff you could find on Underdog Fantasy. Get over there. They got a brand new offer for new customers. Play $5, get $75 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code. That is TCE SGPN. So do that and let it ride. We're also brought to you by Novig. Yes, Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market. With Novig, you're getting the best prices. So download the Novig app, get $50 when you spend $5 if you use our promo code. That is SGPN. So get in on the action with Novig, promo code SGPN. And last but not least, we're brought to you by Merch Madness. It is Merch Madness. 15% off everything in our in our merch store with the promo code MARCH. You want a Pick Dundee t-shirt? You want a back to school, a back to school t-shirt? Storm the Court. I mean, we just got so many great things. We got the Eat Shit Pitt t-shirts, the We Believe ECU t-shirts. Get on over there. Promo code March, 15% off everything with Merch Madness and everything going right now.